Hello my beautiful friend, it's King Gabriel here again. This is video number 2 of the foundation series, right? Spiritual foundation. And the topic of this video is consciousness, okay? And I devote this one part completely to consciousness because I want you to understand some things that will free up a lot of space, right? Now, people have a lot of conceptions and misconceptions about what consciousness is, right? Some would think that consciousness is just being aware, or that it is awareness. Awareness is before consciousness, right? Awareness is the container, in a sense, in which consciousness is held. Okay, I am versus I am something. I am looks like it's smaller, but it's actually bigger because it has the range of being I am anything, anywhere. After that word, those words I am. So I am is the awareness of being. I am that I am, etc. That's the awareness of being. But consciousness is a subset of awareness. It is a set that says I am something specific. By becoming specific, one contracts, so becomes limited to the thing that he or she says that he or she is. So I am something is actually, even though it looks bigger in terms of word length, etc., it's smaller because you're contracting to a smaller space. Like when I say I am King Gabriel Quincy Collymore, you would then look at this body that is here that I have and think that this is the limit. But this is not a limit. I am actually expanded. I am an idea in the mind of the Creator, in the mind of all that is, right? And I am expanded. Even the words I am expanded is still a limit. So from the time we add something to that, we go from awareness to consciousness, which is perception of awareness, right? So perception is involved the moment we move from awareness to consciousness. Hence, consciousness is actually the world of the ego. Sad to say, a lot of people don't like to deal with that topic, but we have to address it to move forward, right? Consciousness is the domain of the ego. Understand that wanting to create things, the want, just the idea of wanting something, comes from an idea initially of some sort of perceived lack or some perceived change that needs to happen for greater fulfillment, right? So the idea of the perception that causes that move is in that realm of ego. It is a drive that is created. And I'm not saying that to say that the ego is wrong. A lot of people have this idea that the ego is a terrible thing. It ruins our lives. Yes and no. Yes, because if that craving is unfulfilled, the person becomes miserable. Deprivation, lack, scarcity, all these things start to step in and the person feels less than their true self. But how about if that same ego is just a tool, just like the body is a tool for physical experience? What about if the ego is a tool for mental experience, right? That's exactly what the ego is. The ego has been deemed as being terrible, but it's only terrible when it's left to govern everything. It cannot govern everything because the level it's on, which is the mental level, is a level of electricity and magnetism. And I spoke about this in a video a long time ago, but most people may not have seen that one, so I'll go over it briefly again. The electrical impulse is the impulse to create intention. It's a drive that goes forward, always looking for new ways to bring things into fruition. The magnetic impulse is sort of, it's considered to be the feminine energy, and we'll talk about that later, but it's the energy that pulls everything together into the limit that is stated by the intention. So they work hand in hand, mother, father, like how they say mother, father, creator, mother, father, God, and all this stuff. The father principle would be the intention. The mother principle would be the drawing, connecting, bringing the particles together to form that intention. Just like a woman gives birth to a child, which is the idea of the father, which comes out through his semen into her, and that idea is formed into a baby miraculously. A lot of people don't quite understand how that process takes place, but that is the female perspective. She forms things and allow them to come into fruition into the physical world. So it's a unison, or more so a harmony between these two that brings things into experience. The purpose of that is just to say that those are the tools that the ego uses. mentally, it will bring the idea into fruition through using the magnetic impulses to allow it to happen. And so, the ego itself is not good or bad, wrong or right. It is just something that is actually used to bring about the result that you desire, but only through specific means, only through those means. It cannot do it through any other means because those are the tools that it is given. But then people get upset and think that the ego is a bad thing. It's not really a bad thing. It's just a thing that's used incorrectly by people because people become dependent on those means and put those means ahead of the true means, which is the focus on your spirit, which is where we're headed next, obviously. And we're going to go there in time, but for now, let's stay where we are. If you recognize what the ego is, it's just a tool, then it doesn't have power over you. It becomes your servant, right? And when I say servant, I don't mean it in a belittling way, but you understand its place in the order of things. You become associated with the overseer, the observer, someone call it the oversoul, etc. And then there is the level of ego and mind. Then there is the level of the physical below that. And so you are not caught up in ego activity because you know fully well that you are in control of what happens on that mental level. Nothing controls you. That liberates energy, that keeps your mind clear, and that allows you to resonate the frequency of spirit or your soul, as some would say. And I'll clarify those later on, but I'm just making it as simple as possible in ideas that people can accept and understand at this point. So, consciousness being the level of the ego just means that it's up to you to govern the ego's activity through your intention. So you take the place of the one giving the directive to the ego to allow it to do its work and fulfill what needs to be fulfilled, right? Because it's a lot easier to have something fulfill a drive than to have yourself struggle to fulfill that drive without the correct means to do so. Spirit is already perfect and already complete. So it sits in a state of completion, of perfect bliss. It has no need to move or do anything. The spirit does not buy. The spirit does not do all these things that people do. The spirit is already complete. It has no reason for motion or activity. Actually, it is complete. The mind, however, has learning to do. It has things to do. It wants to do things because it has to learn on its level, and it has to teach the ego. The ego needs teaching as well. The body does not need teaching because the body is neutral. The body is just reflecting what is happening in the mind and showing it to you in a physical way in cooperation with everything that is around you. But it doesn't need teaching. It does what it does because it gets the directive from the mind. So the only level that really is creative, the only level that needs any teaching at all, is the mental level, which is why speaking like this and communicating like this makes a difference. It actually does. We can spend all the time in the world meditating and connecting to spirit, and we will have great effects. We'll feel great because spirit is complete, and that idea of completion comes upon us. But the mind itself can have very little to no growth while all that is going on, because the mind can either focus on spirit, lift up and feel good, but then it won't know the lessons regarding the ego and everything below that, which is really unnecessary at the end of the day. But still, if you want to function in the world and see a difference in experience, which is ego, seeing it as it is, then lessons are necessary. And to teach others and to help others up out of there, you have to know that. So me as a teacher, it's important for me to know that, which is why I went through what I went through and learned what I learned. Because I would not be able to teach anybody anything or tell anybody anything about those levels unless I myself had undergone them and understood what was happening. So yes, I had to play a little bit in ego activity, which is what we all do here once we take on a body, and be able to explain it from that level up, instead of trying to explain it from up here down, which makes no sense to the person on the physical level. They're like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. It's not real, right? So here we come. Consciousness is the domain of the ego. It is not to be feared. It is to be understood that you are connected with everything around you. What you hold within will be reflected without. You learn by watching what you see, recognizing how crazy that thing that you see is, because it will be crazy, I can guarantee you that. And by recognizing how crazy it is, you can look beyond it to the truth. The truth about that thing is it is part of you. It is part of your mind. It is your energy, and how you perceive it The state that you decide to have from that will allow you to move through what was there in your mind before that was crazy and become sane in that spot. And bit by bit, you clear the mind of all these crazy things that are around you, and the mind is a field. That's why I'm brushing way out here. And as you brush that field out, you become clearer and clearer and radiate, as you would say, of the sunshine, etc. The soul would radiate as the sun. And when the soul radiates as its own sun, it communicates that radiation, yes, or that radiance to everything around it. And then what you start seeing is a world that reflects your internal world. So then the world sync up. And you find that the mental level then starts to display the higher levels of light that I spoke about in one of the further videos. And you end up in a place of divinity, a divine place, connected, knowing your source, knowing where everything comes from, and knowing who you are. From knowing who you are, creation is easy. So from this point forward, it's going to be very simple, very easy. And I'm going to go ahead and continue forward with it. Now, I should clarify something. I said it's going to be simple and very easy. The easy part is really your choice, right? The simple part, it must be simple. The easy part is up to you. It could be easy, or if you hold on to past beliefs and try to fit them into this paradigm to make them work, it could be hard, right? But I intend to make it easy for you, right? So, now that we know that, we can continue to walk forward. The next video will entail more instruction as to where we're headed, as well as give you more insight into how to put these things that I'm speaking of into practical application. Okay? Eternal love and infinite peace.